Good afternoon or good morning, depending on what time zone you're joining us from, and welcome to today's roundtable on the power of real-time production tracking. For those of you who may not be familiar, we are Steel Erectors Association of America, which is a national organization with members in more than 40 states and 3 Canadian provinces. This association was established in 1972 and represents structural and reinforced steel contractors, fabricators, and suppliers that serve this market. I am Nick Caratelli, East Coast Regional Manager for Nelson Stud Welding. I currently serve as the SEAA Marketing Committee Vice Chair. Nelson Stud Welding has been a SEAA member for more than 5 years, and I'm honored to serve an organization that supports so many of our customers. I encourage all of you to get involved in this wonderful organization. I want to take a few seconds to recognize 2 people that have made this webinar series possible. Thank you to Macy Marie with Mighty Mo Media and Kathy Epperson with SEAA for their hard work on this whole webinar process. As some of you know, SEAA has started our own platform to support these webinars. And I want to thank both of these teammates of mine for making it all together go together so smoothly. So I'd like to take a quick second and clap for Macy and Kathy. Thank you, guys. I think there's ways to add claps in the chat. I don't know. I'm not that smart, though. But so going on to some housekeeping. During this webinar, questions can be typed into the question box, and that's the icon with the question mark at the top right-hand corner of the screen. We'll get into as many questions as we can in the time allotted, and we'll also send follow-up emails to answer any questions that we were not able to get through. A recording of this session will be sent within 24 hours. It will also be available on demand at the webinar tab of SEAA's website. If you would like to share this with anyone in your company, maybe someone in your organization, or maybe even a potential SEAA new member, you could send them a webinar. These are all great resources for our members. Lastly, we want to thank Raiken and our panelists from Cooper Steel and Williams Steel Erection for partnering with us in this webinar today. So let's get into it. Today, Raiken and our panelists are going to discuss how to use technology to capture real-time production insights that can help improve your business and make sure you're working as efficiently as possible. In this session, Raiken and our panelists will discuss some of the challenges our industry is faced with and how they're using the available technology tools to get production insight in real time. How can we better monitor progress on the job site? How can we better document issues? How can we make informed decisions, boost profitability, and win more business using technology? We hope to cover some of that today and get your brains flowing on these topics. I personally have a background in construction management and know the complexities of multiple companies trying to build together a building or a road. I'm very excited to have Raiken here to dive into these topics with our panelists. So now we can get into some introductions. Again, I am Nick Caratelli, serving as moderator for SEAA today, and I would like to introduce Nick Pentagill with Raiken, who will lead our panelists through this discussion. Take it away, Nick P.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, never too many Nicks on a call. Nice to be here, and it's truly a pleasure to be representing Raiken today with an awesome group and some really intriguing topics to cover. So just a little background and an introduction on me, though. I'm Nick Pettengill. I'm a construction support manager at Raiken, which really just means I used to use the tool myself as a general contracting superintendent. Back in the day, I've worked for GCs, started my career on the concrete self-perform side of things, about over a decade ago now. But really excited to make the transition and be able to influence Raken's product to always keep the end user kind of in mind, having been one myself. And Raken's been around, for those that don't know, for about 11 years now. We started out really as a tool for general contractors to easily develop a daily report, but we have grown into something much more than that. Obviously, today we're talking with steel erectors and similar companies, so we've grown into providing a tool for not only general contractors but self-performing GCs and obviously subcontractors who are boots on the ground, actually working their tails off to get the job done. And today we're joined by a few greats. First up is Chris Legnon, and I'll let you introduce yourself, Chris.
Sure. My name is Chris Legnan with Cooper Steel out of Nashville, Tennessee. We're a structural steel fabricator erector serving most of the states in the U.S. I'm Vice President of Technology currently at Cooper Steel. I've been here 21 years and worn a lot of different hats to get to this point, but now I handle kind of operational technology, looking to streamline workflows, things like that, and implement new technologies. We have been members of SEAA for over 25 years, and I've been serving the board about 10 years now. I'm currently the marketing chairperson and president-elect of SEAA.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. And now I'll hand it over to Mike Minter to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Minter. Safety and Quality Control Manager here at Williams Erection Company. I'm also deal with on the corporate side as well. We have um, implemented raking inside of our safety and our quality, uh, different type of procedures and things of that nature. And we're just excited to be here, and we're really grateful for raking as well, to make everyone's life a lot easier. Thank you.
It's great. Good to hear. All right. Well, with that, with introductions out of the way, I think we can start diving into some of the actual specific topics that we covered earlier during the agenda. And up first, the primary focus here today is production tracking and sort of everything that encompasses. And the first question right off the bat is, what are the biggest challenges you faced when trying to track production on a daily basis, right? There's project complexities that you're faced with, but I want to fire this one off to Chris first and get your initial take on this question.
Yeah, I think, a lot of the challenge pre-raking was, you've got a lot of people just scanning in documents or highlighting drawings and trying to get that data over to a project manager to then digest and figure out what's really going on. And, if there are delays or anything like that, they might not show themselves for a couple weeks and then you're behind the eight ball. So to me, that was the biggest challenge, is trying to wrangle all the information to really figure out what was going on and then to go find it when you did need it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Finding it when you need it. Sometimes it can feel like trying to look for a needle in a haystack. Um, but Mike, any other comments off the bat for this first question of the challenges faced on tracking production on just on that daily basis, right?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult, especially looking from the project manager side, trying to track all of, let's just say you have multiple projects going at the same time, and trying to actually get on the phone and see what your actual workers are doing. It gets pretty tedious. But now you can just log on to Raken, and you can track per job. I think that was a big key, where they can just look at the per job and just click on it and see the actual dailies, what's happening throughout the day, and see the progression of the actual site as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to call out here too that we all know, like, it's great to say that, hey, this tool provides the information we need, but there's the human element of it, right? Our foremen, our supervisors in the field are expected to input this information, and sometimes they might be distracted, right? They might have bigger fish to fry. They might have a huge delivery showing up, and it'd be dangerous for them to pull their phone out. So from like a compliance standpoint, I'm curious, sort of how do you guys incite your teams or inspire them to actually use it? Did you see a challenge kind of getting them comfortable and using a system like this, or did they pick it up pretty quickly? Chris, I'll shoot it over to you.
Actually, our guys picked it up quickly and loved it quickly, compared to what they were doing before, which was pretty cumbersome process of, you know, going to the hotel at night, filling out trying to remember what all happened that day, and uh, trying to email pictures and things like that, and then scan a document in that had to then be sent to somebody to save in a file somewhere, and then find it later if we needed it. So um, having it right there on the phone to be able to do as the day goes, if they have a couple minutes to take a picture or whatever, all that just gets logged into the daily report for the day. And the rollover work logs have been really nice as well, where once the crew's inputted, they can just say, okay, roll it over, and everything's there for the next day. If you need to take somebody off, you can, but kind of copies some of that redundant information over for them. I think they really like that.
Yeah, no need to reinvent the wheel. I totally get that. Mike, what about you with your team? What was like the adoption process like? What did you guys do kind of at your company to inspire the guys to, get into a good habit of inputting the information that you require?
Yeah, it was. Just to be honest, as far as with we're dealing with the generational gap, so it's hard to sometimes introduce technology to some of the the more experienced personnel as well of a change. But once they started to get into it and really started to see how much time that they actually can save throughout their day, it began to be more easy as well. Also, I found that when you do have some of these foremen that's not filling out their paperwork properly, that we have noticed, or not even doing it at all, um, um, by introducing this to some of the foremen that was lacking in those areas, they were actually they gravitated to it, and we're seeing a more greater reaction towards doing their dailies and non-conformances and weeklies and things of that nature. So yeah, it works out. It works out a whole lot.
It's great. And yeah, I think it's important to incentivize these guys and know that you're looking out for them, trying to give them something easier than what they might be used to historically. But I'm curious, sort of, you know, in the scenario where, habits aren't good, what happens as, whether you're managing one project and you're kind of hyper focused on it, or you're looking at things from a company level, what happens to the business when you don't have an accurate view of what's happening on site and you're, 40 miles down the road at the main office? Chris, what happens typically without, that accurate
Well, I
info?
mean, obviously the wheels can fly off pretty quick, and it compounds very fast on a job site when you got production delays or anything like that that may be happening that you might not know about to react to it. Um, it costs you money. That's the bottom line, and it happens fast and on a big scale.
Yeah, and we hate to bring that up, but it is a nature of the business, and any business really. Things snowball pretty fast, and knowing what's happening while it's happening can be a big factor. Mike, what about you in your experience with your team? Anything kind of stick out that um, you know what happens when you guys don't have accurate information and you're kind of wondering what's going on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially at the end of the projects. If you don't have the proper documents in place, you can't be refunded your money, or if it's extra work orders or non-conformances, things of that nature. God forbid if it has to go into arbitration, anything like that. Just having that tracking, it really helps. It really goes a long way.
Great. Well, that's Yeah, that's important to hear. Yeah, and I think with that, unless you guys have any other kind of final thoughts on this first question, we can probably jump to the next one and go a little bit further down the rabbit hole. Perfect. So this next one is kind of diving a little bit more into the production sort of data itself, and the importance of it, right? So the question is, how does having a daily update on the production quantities allow you to better manage your projects, right? Like knowing exactly how much got installed or how far along we got with the task at hand. So Chris, I'll kick it to you first, and try to get your thoughts on this one.
Sure. Our in-house direction team has some experience with doing this where they will set the budgets for the sequences, being the number of pieces or hours attributed to each sequence within a project, and then uh, track the production daily by cost codes and enter how many pieces they set or how many hours they might have used for that day and track it that way. And I think it helps keep a pulse on what's actually going on the job. You know, you can see things skewing, pretty quickly. If things are getting off, you have a chance to correct the ship before it gets too far down the road. And then you've, lost a bunch of production time and schedule.
Yeah, that of course. Mike, what about you? And if from a production install standpoint, you know, what is daily updates like? How does that allow you to better manage, those projects? And have you seen project teams kind of fall into this category before?
Yes, absolutely. It's pretty much the same way with the cost codes and things of that nature. The actual foreman they'll put in place. The tracking it and just knowing what's going on a daily basis of the project also helps the guys to plan as well and being able to answer questions to the GCs and fabricators with a more confident answer as well. So just having that in place is priceless, actually.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to understand exactly sort of what bucket, the work that they're doing right now goes into so you can accurately analyze, your job costing down the road. I'm curious though, from like just the nature of, working on a construction site. I feel like steel erectors, you guys are pretty good at carving out the job and making sure everybody knows, hey, stay out of our way. We're doing some really dangerous stuff here. Um, but what about, I'm curious sort of when it comes to other contractors or even the GC or the engineers doing a job walk, how often are you guys impacted by other contractors on site? And then if you are, how do you, relay that back if it's impacting your daily production quantities? Chris, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as those situations arise, if you are using a daily tracking tool like Rake, and you can document that stuff and then have something to go back to. And if there was a delay caused by it, and you fill out a checklist at the end of the day and say, yeah, we did have a delay. They had to dig a ditch through here. We couldn't get the crane over there. It cost us, 18 man hours or whatever it might be, and two pieces of equipment sat idle because of that. That's pretty easy to point to, especially when you're sending that daily report to the GC as well. So everybody's on the same page and understands the impact pretty much immediately of that production time.
Yeah, of course. And Mike, what are your thoughts kind of as, we talk about managing your own crew is hard enough, right? When you have to start worrying about other people on the job site, from a production or safety standpoint, yeah, that can be really challenging. Um, cool. So my next question, Chris, kind of just sort of leaning a little bit further into this, like, you know, how do these challenges impact your ability, right? These challenges of we've talked about other contractors, we've talked about other people, but how do they impact your ability to kind of one, meet project deadlines, and two, stay within budget, right? Like I know we kind of talked about being tracking cost codes specifically and knowing where we are and what we're working on and the impacts that we are, we come across. But those challenges, what are we doing to keep the job on time and under budget?
Well, your reaction time's a lot quicker to be able to kind of correct that, um, things going askew, kind of like I mentioned before. But if you've got to put more manpower or react quickly, get more equipment out there, whatever you have to do, um, to stay on that schedule, you're going to know. And if it's a similar building on the next project, you might plan ahead a little bit for some of those things that you learned, that you've documented now, that you don't have one guy remembering that stuff, and 2 years later you're doing the same project and the same thing happens. You kind of have you can go see, how did that project really go, and oh yeah, we had all these delays because there's a certain aspect of this building that shut us down, and how we planned to originally do the structure. So I think it's
Yeah, that's a
learning, to plan ahead, and just being able to, remember it for the next one, kind of deal.
yeah, that's a huge part of it is having that historical knowledge, having it, and it comes from years of construction experience, right? You start to hopefully learn from mistakes or anticipate, yeah, this might be an issue down the road. I can totally understand that. Mike, the follow-up that we're covering here is, the challenges we've talked about of, accurately tracking your production quantities, and also the impacts that might come from other companies or other teams on site. But how do those challenges impact, the project deadline and the budget of the job? So what do your teams do to keep it under budget and on time?
Yeah, some of the things that we do is have a lot of meetings. So you have to communicate, and when you have the documentation, um, like Reagan, and you can bring it up uh, before everyone. It can help the process of staying on time, as well. So one of the biggest things that we see as a company is if our communication is better and if it's more clear, things seem to work out a lot more easier. So that is one of the things that we strive for, and in this particular system that we are using with Reagan, and other systems that we do have in place. We just want to make sure that works, for the communication, because if you can't communicate with the GC, and if everybody is on different pages, it's just hard to get to the main goal of completing the project. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's excellent insight. So last kind of piece on this question topic, I want to kind of enter the scenario of, okay, unfortunately we have fallen behind. Now we got to get back on track. So when what do you guys typically do, what steps do you take to get back on track when, production visibility is lacking? Chris, what do you think on that one?
I mean, it could vary depending on the scenario, but if it takes more manpower, more equipment, a second crew working nights until it's caught up, or whatever we have to do to meet that obligation that we've promised, for the job site. And then being able to explain, things that are out of our control or that did cause us delays, you know, instead of having heartache at the end of the job and not having anything to fall back on. We're uh, telling the GC along the way that yes, we are impacted and your schedule is impacted because X, Y, Z, and having something to point back to so they understand.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like having proof is everything when, the whole team can sort of come together and agree that, yep, this is the root cause of the issue. We have the backup data to show it. Mike, anything to add though in that case? You guys fall behind. Any strategies that you guys have, you know, put in
Yeah.
place in your
Yeah.
experience?
Absolutely. It's with our daily reports, because your dailies, it'll track it on there. once it's being filled out properly. It can be even with the weather. It may be that the GC is doing a pour or something like that and just slowing down the process as well. Going up against the scheduling that we actually had set in place. So any type of delay, we try to make sure that our foreman documented properly. Even with raking in, and if you can get to your dailies and get to all of your documents easy as possible, it just makes your life a lot easier as well. And it's just about communication because most jobs you're already behind as soon as you get started. So you going. It's not when you're going to have these altercations on a project, because you're going to have them. So it's just best to just make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you also are looking at the dailies of your foreman and managers. Make sure that you're paying attention to your superintendent documents as well, because things can get kind of hectic, and then when it hits the fan, I mean it really hits the fan. So having that documentation is key.
Yeah, no, that's great insight. I love the piece of it's not if you're gonna fall behind, it's when. It's a sad reality. But I think everyone can agree. All right, so I think that pretty well covers this topic. I'd love to switch to question three. Great. So this next one, let's zoom out a little bit, right? Like rather than just talking about the production quantities and kind of staying on schedule, keeping things on budget, I want to really dive into, the importance of like the real-time communication. Okay, so we're fragmented, we're across either a large job site. Hey, maybe I'm in the job site trailer, but it's a 10-minute walk to the working deck, or I'm 50 miles down the road in my office, right? Our teams are spread apart. And I think with the technology that we all have in our pockets today, there is a real capability of connecting us better. So the question here is, what information delivered in real time being the important piece here, right, is the most beneficial for field and office coordination, right? Which kind of pieces of data that come from the field or come from the office are most important? Going back and forth. Chris, take it to you.
Well, obviously the production budgets that we've talked about, the hours that you're spending on the job site and how that's tracking along with the schedule that's been set, are you on track or not? But also any delays in the project that might get flagged in a daily report, or even if there's a non-conformance or something like that, that's automatically attached to the daily. And, something happened that day that you need to dig further on. Uh, so I think, those are the critical pieces for us.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And what about you, Mike? Any particular kind of data points coming from the field back to you that are kind of most important to get kind of right in the moment?
Absolutely, and it's pretty much the same with the non-conformances and also with any even with this on the safety aspect of it as well. The observations and things of that nature, that's very key. That happens, and one of the biggest things that helps us a lot is because we will have a different foreman, may go to a multiple jobs, and just being able to track it per job. Um, it makes it easier for the foreman as well, having to, and the project managers to keep track of what's actually happening on that particular job, even though there's different foremen continuously may be going there. One may be there 2 weeks, one may be there 3 weeks. And it makes life a lot easier that way as well, tracking the dailies.
Yeah, knowing where everybody is, what they're working on, kind of in that moment. Exactly. If you,
Absolutely.
you need to reallocate your resources to, hey, we're actually falling behind in this job, but let me get some more guys over there.
Right.
Absolutely. So, I'm curious to kind of looking at production kind of from a wider lens. There's this idea of what you guys had planned to what actually happened. So I'm curious now, like How important is that comparison and to get it on a daily basis? Chris, what would you say? Like being able to make that comparison of planned production versus what actually happened.
Now, obviously, if you can track it live, that would be fantastic. Again, keeping the train on the tracks, making sure everything's going smooth and as smooth as possible. There are going to be bumps every day that you got to figure out and adapt. Um, but yeah, having that to track and to learn from again, on the next one, if it is similar, we learn from things we could have done better, on the next one.
Definitely. And Mike, same question to you. You know, being able to kind of compare the plan to what's actually happening. How important is that?
Yes, that is very important, because one thing that you want to do is keep your reputation up. So, if we say that we're going to do something, we want to actually do it, and it's always something good to it's always good to have something where you can go back and look at um, what you actually planned, and just have something to gauge you of where you are. Not saying that you're always going to be on track, but at least you have a gauge and you can go back and say, okay, we need to do better in this particular area. And so if you don't have anything to gauge yourself, that's when issues happen. So you always have to have something to gauge yourself. And with breaking, it really helps us to gauge and like I go right back to communication and having something in place where you can share back with your crews and with one another as well to make sure that everyone is on track.
Yeah, of course. I think, some days are, you got 20 things going on. Other days it's a little bit lighter and hey, maybe no news is good news. And looks like a pretty standard daily report that we got back from the guys today. And seems like things went well. But yeah, sometimes silence is the biggest red flag. There should be something going on. So I'm curious too, kind of like going a little bit further down for other scenarios, right? I think especially for you, Mike, being on the quality and safety side, I'm curious to hear from your perspective, like how important, certain real-time updates are from a safety perspective. We haven't really talked about that at all yet, but I think it's important to bring up, especially with the field to office communication. So, so how important is it to get those safety updates as well?
Yes, it's very important. So we actually use Raking as well, so they can fill out their daily reports, even on the safety aspect, their weekly safety meetings. Um, what I love about it is that I can go on and I can see exactly what they are doing, or if they actually did a safety meeting today or not. So I'll be able to contact them and ask them, Why didn't you do it?" or you need to make sure that you stay on track of doing your weeklies or your dailies or your JSAs, things of that nature, or your whiteboards that we often do. So it is a really really great tool, where while the crews are working, me as a safety manager, I can also go in and just monitor that as well. I don't always have to make a phone call, but I can actually go and just see exactly if they're doing it or not, where the slack is happening, because it's not that the workers intentionally do it. Sometimes we just get too busy and just need that reminder. But so it's a great tool for a manager to keep their hands on all of the crews at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think you know, safety should always be on the brain, right? It should always kind of be the forefront, and everybody should have their eyes wide open, looking out for hazards, and being able to confirm that the guys are protecting themselves every day is paramount. Chris, I want to ask a similar question to you, but not necessarily from the safety side. It could be a safety impact, but something that we've talked about previously, how important are communicating other delays like weather impacts? we're in the middle of winter right now across the country, so I'm sure people are dealing with it today, probably, depending on where you are. So I want to understand kind of how you guys manage that and how that gets communicated today for your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we have part of that in our checklist each day. Was there a weather delay, and a conditional question, yes or no. And if it's yes, you can say how long the delay was. Um, that way we have something to go back and look at versus, if we did have weather days in the contract versus what actually occurred. And if there needs to be a conversation with GC about, days lost or whatever over it, over the agreed upon weather days that were in the contract, we can have that discussion. But I did want to add something to kind of what Mike was saying.
Yeah.
uh, the consistency of the data that we get is very important. And the way Mike might look at it, or some of our management team, they know what they're going to get from the field because you've given them a format. So you're not getting data in a bunch of different skewed ways as you would before you had some sort of system to input all this stuff in. So you're looking at something on a consistent, every job is getting the same data, and you can really see if somebody is slacking and not providing that data because all the other jobs have it. So, it kind of puts this streamlined workflow across all your jobs and sets the expectation for your field to be filling those things out in that consistent manner. I think that really helps, and like that checklist is a consistent set of questions that we're looking at every single day, and we're getting the answers for those questions on every job every day. So I think that's something important to point out.
Yeah, of course. And I'm curious, kind of with your guys' experience, for yourselves and for other members of your teams that work in the office side, how quickly are they able to respond to these kind of checklists or non-checklists, right? Like just from a compliance standpoint, hey, did they fill it out or did they not? So, Mike, to you first, kind of you know, how quickly are you guys able to respond? And like, do you guys do anything special to help streamline that?
Oh yes, it very quickly. It hits our email, real quick. I mean, you can have it on your iPad, on your phone, anyway. So we can respond in many different ways. That's what I love about it. And as soon as any type of question that may arise, we can give them that information directly, especially if you have other type of formats that you may have, or technology with your own procedures as well. And if it's connected on your phone or on your iPad, if just to say, for instance, if they need more information on fall protection, or horizontal lifelines or whatever it may be, you can just give them those procedures and you can just send it right over real quickly. Um, yeah, I think is is very it works very well and is very effective as well.
Excellent. Yeah. And Chris, same question to you, kind of, for your teams, the speed and agility to be able to respond to stuff. You know, what helps streamline that process for you today?
Yeah, I mean, the instant notification is key. The right team player gets the information and can react instantaneously and start, whatever the process is of, depending on what the situation that arose was, we can start reacting immediately, which is, uh, what we want to do.
Excellent. Well, that's a lot for question three, and I appreciate you guys' feedback. I think that was really helpful. But moving on, kind of to our final one here, you know, just to look at sort of past and what a lot of companies out there are still using, right? Because there's so many tools to help kind of streamline processes and make life easier, and everybody gets home, faster or healthier, right? They're not spending, 45 minutes in their hotel room every night trying to remember what they did that day. So, I know probably you guys were on pen and paper in a previous life. And I'm curious sort of what tools and technology are you using to enhance your production tracking? I know we've talked about Raken a lot, So maybe like some feature sets within Raken that your team benefits from. Chris, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I think I mentioned the budgeting, the piece counts and the hours. Um, that is a good way to do it. We do have most of our 3D models are put into Trimble Connect, so we're able to colorize some things and do some reporting that way. And we're looking into some different AI tools for production tracking as well that would track pieces per day and hopefully tie that technology back into some of these other systems in the future.
Absolutely. And Mike, same question to you. I know you guys are obviously using Raken. But so what tools specifically within it, help you guys enhance your production tracking and communication?
Well, we do have a few of our companies with Williams overall that they actually do use it for tracking far as their materials and their daily reports as well. But we also use it very heavily with our safety inspections. So our quality and safety inspections, they go a long way as well, using Raken. Also with the observations, we introduce it also to our project managers. So whenever they go out and visit a site, they can, if they see anything, they can just communicate it really quickly with the foreman through the observations as well. So we also use different alternatives as well, still with Excel, and we're still on some paper as well. But we're working towards of getting more on Raking and moving forward on to different type of technology as well. So it's a work in
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah, it kind of always is, right? Technology's changing too, right? We're changing with it, and there's I haven't found a singular silver bullet that does absolutely everything that your company would need. So it's always going to be a combination of things, and technology is one of those things that should talk to each other. It should kind of work for you instead of you working for it. Um, so I'm curious though, like having adopted technology on your teams, I think it's important because like a lot of companies have a fear to take the leap of faith, right? Into I've never done it before, and I think it's important to have a strategy on how to audit the success or failure of it. So I'm curious, kind of how do you guys evaluate whether that tool is actually providing efficiency in the field or not? Chris, to you.
I think we don't have a solid process that we're utilizing. A lot of it's word of mouth and just communicating amongst our teams. If a need arises for some sort of process, we're looking at the technologies that we have to see if we can solve it, or we're looking outside what we currently offer to find a tool that'll give the tools our field needs to be able to do what they need, or anybody in the office, anybody across our whole company. We want to give them the right tools for the job. So we're constantly kind of evaluating that, talking to our teams, and just seeing, what the needs are and uh, going about it that way.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? Mike, what about you? Do you have a way of kind of just verifying that, the tools you guys are using are successful
Yeah,
today?
yeah, pretty much. Every individual is different, right? You have different stages of of foremen and superintendents as well. So my biggest thing is if they're comfortable with it. So we don't have just one way for them to perform. So we will introduce different things to our teams, and if it works, then we'll try to stick with it. If we can see our expectation is being fulfilled, and if we're getting the non-conformances, getting the dailies, diff, the things that actually is needed for the project manager, that's what we'll go with. So because some of them may not like technology, and no matter how much you try to force it on them, they just won't do it. But they do a great job with their paper, or sending it in the way how they're doing it. It's like mentioned earlier, some may not be doing anything because they just feel like the paperwork is just too much, and we introduce raking, and then now they're doing the actual work, the document. So it all depends on the individual.
Yeah. Yeah. And in my experience, there's no shortage of strong personalities and opinions. Not to say just from the ironworker standpoint, but yeah, I could totally imagine it. If they're not enjoying it, they'll probably tell you immediately, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's good. I think that's a good place to kind of wrap up here, and I'm going to kick it back to Nick C for kind of our closing and Q&A. But thank you guys for involvement.
You're welcome. No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. That was, I mean, the words I heard out of all of you guys were standardized, and repeatable. I just think that those things are things that we look at with what we do every day is trying to make our customers, do the same thing every day. It just really it really resonates with me. I had a quick question for you guys, just real quick. Do you guys use this for like certs? Like do you put your certs into it when you receive them from deliveries, or like obviously being a material supplier, do you guys track materials from other suppliers when they hit the job site at all? Is that something you guys use these tools for as well?
Well,
Or am I off
We track,
base?
go ahead, Mike.
uh, no, we really don't use it for that particular incident. But well, we do have a delivery form. So
Okay,
I guess we can say that we do use it for that. That's on raking as well. So if decking or whatever comes in on the truck, far as inspecting the trucks, that particular document we do have created. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's helpful. I
What?
mean, I just know that being on the job site before, you always were losing stuff that gets delivered. Having some sort of way to confirm that it got there is awesome. So yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, a lot of that inventory tracking, things like that, we use PowerFab for that. So shipping tickets and things like that that are coming out of our main shops are tracked through that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, well, thank you again, guys, for joining. Again, Rakin and Cooper and William Steele Erection. This information was super helpful to everyone. The I don't see. I mean, it looks like we've kind of covered throughout some audience questions, but I wanted to take this moment just to kind of remind everybody that the SEAA convention and trade show is right around the corner. It's May 6th through the 9th, and it's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Steel City. There are discounts on the registration through February 28th. So this is going to be an awesome time. And there's a boat ride, a tour of the city, golf, pickleball. There's a baseball game. And in addition to, of course, the training, the education, the trade show, the peer groups, and the projects of the year. So there's lots of ways to learn and network this May. So please join us and don't miss out. As Jack Nix, our current president, says, the more you get involved in this organization, the more you get out of it. So with that being said, again, if there's any other questions that we missed, we will definitely respond with emails. Nick, did you see any that came through that you wanted to address?
Yeah, I got a couple that came through
Okay,
just a
great.
moment ago. Um, yeah, I think the first one, I guess would be for me. It's what separates Raken from the competition in this market, and it's a great question. There's a ton of overlap and competition between other software technologies out there. I'd say the ease of use is kind of the core functionality that we've tried to keep for our tool. Where other tools tend to add on a lot of other features to be able to round out anything that someone might need to report on. We've tried to keep that core focus of the end user in mind and keeping it simple and consistent for him or her. And the other thing is, I mean, I think our success comes from the two gentlemen here with me on the panel who've obviously said great things, and there is a litany of other people who have provided comments and feedback all over, Google Play and App Store. So I'd encourage anybody curious to go read those reviews, because the number of them is quite staggering.
If I
And then
might,
the next,
Mhm.
go ahead. Yeah,
If I might add, also it's the creativity of that you have as a contractor. So even if you have the paper documents that you've had in the past, um, it's not that you have to change everything, but you can make it a lot more easier by adding those same things that you had on paper onto Raking, so you can actually do that. Because all of our documents and inspection forms or whatever it may be a little different from others. So you can actually make it your own. So that's another plus as well.
yeah, I appreciate that context, Mike. I guess this other one would be sort of targeted towards you guys. What's your favorite, most used feature within Raken? Chris, what do you think? If you had to pick one.
I mean, I like our checklist. Like I say, that kind of alludes to what Mike was saying about making it customized. That's, a set of questions that is valuable to Cooper Steel, and we were able to kind of lay all those out and make sure that they get answered on that daily basis. Um, as far as the particulars that we see as, the most important things to know on a day-to-day basis on a job.
Absolutely. Mike, what about you?
Yeah,
Your
the
your
checklist
favorite
is
feature?
yeah, the checklist is one, but also just being able to have all of your jobs in one place. You can just look and just scroll down and see all of your projects. To me, that's priceless. Yeah, I really like that feature as well.
Got it. Yeah, the just the project list and seeing kind of everything going on.
Yeah,
Do you ever go to the map view and see it from a different perspective, looking at, where everything is geographically?
I haven't tried that one yet.
So I'll have to show you that one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think, Nick, those might be kind of the only questions I see popping up on my list. But yeah, like Nick mentioned, we'll definitely get back to you if you guys have something that's sticking out there.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, the one thing we just definitely want to let everybody know before you jump off is the association offers member-to-member discounts program. So Rakin is obviously a member of SEAA, so you can contact Carrie Goldstein, or if they're actually, I believe we're going to be putting the SEAA website for that in the chat feature. So if you want to reach out about how to take advantage of being a SEAA member and get a benefit on Rakin, you can do that. But there's also so many other member-to-member benefits. And again, I just want to remind everybody that there's a lot of those benefits. There's Steel Pro training portal, and there's all sorts of different things that you can get through this great organization. But my personal favorite thing is the networking. The networking that I've learned in Steel Erectors Association has just been unbelievable. So again, Kathy just put that link into the chat if you guys want to join that or if you want to check that out. With that being said, I think we can wrap this up and just again thank you so much to Rakin. Thank you to Cooper Steel, William Steel Erection. Thank you guys for joining this roundtable, and thank you guys for joining the webinar. We had record attendance on this webinar. We had record amount of people signed up. So we just want to continue to give you guys value through the webinar series at SEAA. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
All right, you too. Take care.